Simpin' Ain't Easy podcast, where we will dive into the heart of personal recovery, politics, relationships, and business with unfiltered conversations and a fresh perspective. I'm Vince, your host. We are passionate about unpacking the ideas that shape our lives and drive our world forward. In each episode, we'll explore what matters most, challenge assumptions, and spark meaningful dialogue. Buckle up, this is where curiosity meets clarity. Let's get started.
Yeah, it's going.
Beautiful. Awesome. So here we are. Dr. Shirley Rowland. How are you doing?
I'm good this evening. Thank you.
Awesome. For the sake of our audience, who are you and what do you do?
Well, my name is Dr. Shirley Rowland because I have a doctorate in addictive disorders and I'm retired from Sacramento County Behavioral Health. And I opened a little business called Culture and Crafts where I teach Native American culture. I work with the Native community. In fact, I'm going down to Stockton on Friday to teach sound healing to the young girls, the youth girls there. And I work with the community, the recovering community, um, and in many different aspects. I'm with the uh, Community Lutheran Church here in West Sacramento, where we have Recovery Cafe Monday through Saturday, and people can come in and have a free meal and get help and classes to better themselves, and it's free to open to anyone. Also, we have leased our land to build tiny housing,
Hmm.
and so we're going to house the homeless. We partnered with Three Sisters Gardening, and we have on the other side of the church land where we have a community garden. So I have my hands in a lot of different things. Um,
Sounds like it.
yeah, I work with the Native American Training Institute in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I just got back from Las Vegas where I presented at the Gambling Addiction Conference. And this Saturday, I'll be at Recovery Market. So that's
That's
just,
exactly how we met. Yeah. That's just 1 week of your busy schedule. So
yeah.
so let's
And
let's
most people don't realize that I'm 82 years old.
holy smokes, you don't look a day over 50.
Well, I thank you for that.
Well, I got to flatter my guests a little bit.
Yeah.
um, so talk to me about because we met at the recovery market a couple months ago. I think that was in August.
Yes.
Uh, you gave me you gave me a Native American what looked like totem or a staff, and I
Yes.
believe it was a strength staff. Talk to me about the sound healing and the Native Amer- So how do you incorporate those? Because you almost kind of sound like a medicine woman, and so how do you incorporate that in recovery and sound healing? How does that all work with your practice?
Well, I do individual sessions as well at my office, and so sound healing touches you to the core. It it touches that central nervous system, and it allows you to uh, non-verbally release trauma and stress and anxiety. I also do, which I did in Las Vegas for the gambling conference. I did the healing drum, where I used the big mother drum, and we go through a series of different things, like starting with breathing and the heartbeat, and moving forward, almost like a rebirthing part. Um, this coming Friday in Stockton with the youth girls, I will be doing sound healing. It's one of the I'm working with Native Core. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Corps programs.
No, and
It,
I'm sure
it's
my audience isn't either. So please explain.
Native Corps is a Native American recovery program, and so you find that we have Native recovery programs that use traditional ways of healing and for sobriety and recovery, and we call it drumming out addiction, those kinds of things. And so I'll be using the sound healing with the young girls. I spent most of today making um, 15 rain sticks, small ones, of course. And so
Mhm.
one of the things we'll use the rain sticks in a group setting, and each girl will have a rain stick that she can use to calm and soothe, and it touches the inner part of the being, it without having to speak. It's non invasive, and so you don't have to feel shame or guilt with any of this. It's about releasing and healing, and so it's a whole different process than traditional counseling, which I've done in my past as well. Um, you know, like I said, I'm 82, so I've got lots of certificates and letters behind my name. But in our culture, we don't boast. Um, it's about humility. So I can remember when I first got my doctorate, I was working for Sacramento County Behavioral Health. My supervisor said to me, "Shirley, you need to use your title." And I said, "Well, I don't want to intimidate people. I'm not better than." And she said, "Yeah, but it opens doors." And I found that to be true. If I called uh, a business or a recovery home or something like that, and I just said, "This is Shirley," they would say, "Well, the person's busy. We'll call later." If I said, "This is Dr. Rowland," they put me right through. That's mainstream way of seeing it's about your education, your um, who you are instead of what you are. So
Yeah.
I have been called a medicine person. I do traditional medicine. I do herbal medicine. I grow. I have an herb garden, and I teach that as well. So there's a big difference, but it's like I said, it's nonverbal and non-threatening. So it's a lot of inner healing.
So I mean, how? Because a lot of this really has a sense of like a spirituality to it. Now I know that. I mean, based on. I I'm just a white guy. I'm a novice. Oh wait, let's get this out of the way first. So you have a doctorate. Is that in psychiatry or psychology?
It is a doctorate in addictive disorders. It was a
Oh,
special
okay.
doctorate that I had to write the program for. This has been many years ago. At that time, colleges weren't, um, they didn't have classes for Native Americans. So I had to
Gotcha.
their curriculum and uh, put the Native focus to it. So,
Oh,
um, yeah, it's a doctorate like doctor of chiropractor or doctor
gotcha.
of specialty doctorate. It's not a PhD.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. That no, that makes sense. It's kind of like an educational doctorates in a sense, right? It's not the PhD aspect of it, but so that makes sense. That's all right. So, um, getting back to the original question that kind of prompted that question. So when it comes to Native American healing and medicine, like you have Eastern medicine, Western medicine. How does Native American medicine match or meet or is different from those obviously Western medicine, but Eastern medicine because Eastern medicine, from what I understand, not only do they work with a lot of herbs and whatnot, but they also deal with the spiritual aspect of medicine. How does the spiritual aspect of medicine like integrate with the Native American healing that you're performing?
Well, we don't separate our spirituality uh, from who we are. It's like we're connected to a spiritual realm. Everything we do is with prayer. Everything we do um, is calling on the Great Spirit, so to speak, or the Creator, those kinds of things. The Lutheran Church that I work with, we are an integrated church. Um, we're inclusive to all people, and I'm also an ordained minister from many years ago, and I do some of the sermons there, and I incorporate the Native American spirituality with the sermons, and so we are a little different church, but we are Lutheran, and all are welcome. And again, like I said, we do a lot with the recovery community, and have for many years. I always say that we truly live the word community within the name of our church.
So okay, so I mean, yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of years and a lot of experience behind you. How did you first come into like recovery in this traditional sense of the word recovery? Like, give me your experience, strength, and hope, I guess.
Yeah, well, when I started working on my doctorate, um, we part of that was we had to go to different 12-step meetings, and this was back in 1990, and so we had to go to different meetings. So I went to AA, and I went to NA, and I went to ACA, and a couple of other different Al-Anon, uh, and then we had to write a paper on it. Well, I didn't fit in most of those. Definitely didn't fit Al-Anon. Um, but when I hit an ACA meeting, it was like they were telling my story. September
Interesting.
27th, I had 35 years in ACA.
Wow.
Yeah.
For
So,
those, okay, so
coming,
let's go ahead.
yeah,
No, please finish. Go ahead.
I was going to say, coming from, um, you know, an alcoholic family, um, thinking things were normal. In fact, back in the 90s, I wrote a book, and that was called Looking for Normal, upside down and backwards. You know, because when you grow up in a family like that, that's what's normal.
All right.
That's what's normal. And so I had to learn through ACA what normal really is. And it can be different for any of us. It's not going to be the
Correct.
same. So, yeah, so that's what got me started. And then I I got injured just as I was starting my master's program, and it was on the job kind of thing, and so they wanted to send me to rehab, but they didn't know what to do with somebody that had a degree. They weren't going to pay for my master's, but they had this program at the time where they would pay for me to become an alcohol and drug counselor, and uh, so that's the program that I did, where I had to go to these meetings. And so that's what's led me to the recovering community that I work with, and the native part of that. As I said, when I went to college, there were no native programs yet. It wasn't until 1978, I believe it was, that Native Americans even had rights. We were not allowed to practice our culture um, in public. It was forbidden, and there were no classes. I actually took, um, because of the civil rights movement in the '60s, there was some Black history. So I took Black history classes and Black English classes, and there's a lot of similarities there in the cultures. And so, looking at that, I'm just in awe today. I understand that UC Davis is now starting to build a Native American college again. There used to be one years ago, and it closed, and so now they're going to be looking at doing that. So I'm excited. I have taught at UC Davis years ago in their alcohol and drug studies uh, program, and hopefully I'll be able to work with them again once they get this up and running.
That would be a cool thing to see. Now let's kind of backtrack because again there was a lot there that I need to unpack. So let's start with the ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics. So now I was introduced to ACA um, uh, through anger management, and that's an incorrect way of stating it. I don't have any other way of. So essentially, what ended up happening is I blew a gasket. I ruined a relationship because I got upset and angry. The funny thing is when I got upset and angry, I was yelling at this individual over the phone, right? So there was no physical contact, there was no holes beaten, there was nobody like beat up or anything like that. However, during the course of the loss of that relationship, because I just completely blew a gasket, I got angry. Uh, I was introduced to, or I actually went to a psychiatrist, and I spent 3 years with that psychiatrist working on my anger issues. And during the course of that, I actually was introduced through Adult Children of Alcoholics. Now, I wrote in my book that my father, and it was really funny looking for normal upside down and backward. I'm gonna look that up, and if I can find it, I'm gonna place a link. I don't know if it's on. I'll find it if somebody's selling it, yeah, or it's like I'll find it. I'll see what the internet has to offer. But
Yeah,
when you said looking for normal, upside down and backward, I totally related to that idea of what is normal, because when your dad flies off the handles and and backhands you and you go flying across the room, you figure that like every family deals with that stuff, right? Because nobody, what do they teach you in ACA? It's like you don't tell them your secrets, you don't tell them your problems,
yeah,
and you keep everything, it's like you keep everything bottled up. And so you don't discuss these things with you go to school with a black guy and it's like, oh, it's just like I had a fight at the park, or you make up all these excuses or whatever, right? Because nobody talks about these interactions with your family, because it's like, well, it's normal, everybody seems like that they, but then when you start to actually go to people's houses, you get a little older, and you start to go to your friends' houses and you see how they interact, and you start to see, oh my god, I don't ever want to bring these people to my house. It's like they're normal, we're like, this is chaos. So I can completely understand where you're going with that. So with the AC, being introduced to ACA, I had to deal with a lot of anger issues because of the fact that I grew up different and not knowing what the proper way of managing my emotions are. And so I still, people, places, and things still irritate the piss out of me, and I'm still in Al-Anon, and and still using the 12 steps. But that brings me back to the next thing. In 1991, when you were first introduced, when or in 1990 when you were. Just about a year after that, I was introduced to 12 steps, and that was from a nudge from the judge because I was drinking obsessively. But the first one didn't do anything. It was the second one. I ended up getting a second DUA 18 months after that, and going back, and then finally getting the idea that, hey, you know what, maybe if I'm responsible, stop blaming people for all my problems, because I've contributed to a more majority of it, right? It's like I ended up doing 6 years, 5 years, 60 months in Alcoholics Anonymous, and that was kind of the stepping stone. So, I wrote about all of this in my book, and and covered it in a way that I could try to keep it clean and kind of PG-13, although I do drop a lot of f bombs in that book. Uh, but coming back, but you also deal with, okay. Talk to me about this community cafe. Let's kind of fast forward a little bit. Let's get, you've got your doctorates, you've got 30 plus years in ACA. You wrote a book. You got, it's like, talk to me about what you're doing now with, okay, you got the sound healing. What is this community cafe thing that you're working on now?
Well, the community it's recovery cafe, and they
Oh, I'm
use
sorry. I
yeah,
misspoke. Recovery
yeah,
cafe.
it's recovery cafe, but they use the sanctuary of our community church, and during the week they turn our sanctuary into a cafe, and so we have partnered with, it's called Mercy Coalition, to build this what we call Mosaic Village. And so with that, we've got the garden, we've got the housing that they're working on surveying, getting ready to break ground there, um, and the cafe. It's they have those cafes all over the United States. It's not
Huh.
just here. I think they might have started in Oregon or Washington, like
So,
Starbucks, and then
so,
just
so what's
spread.
So it's a coffee shop concept based on recovery. I mean, kind of
Yes,
can
yes.
you? Oh, okay. Can you
They have
explain a little
food.
bit more on
They
that?
they
All right.
they set
Okay.
up they set up like a buffet food, uh, and so you can have lunch. Um, I was there one Friday. I just dropped in to say hello, and they were getting ready to have bingo, and it was like, you don't you don't you don't talk to these people when they're having bingo. you know it was quite interesting. um, they have
it's
different
serious
classes.
when you bring bingo into when you bring bingo into the equation, it becomes a serious thing.
Yes, yes, yeah, and so um, anybody can come now. We are, like I said, at the Community Lutheran Church in West Sacramento, here in California, and anybody is welcome from noon to 3, um, to drop in, have a bite to eat, socialize, maybe play bingo. you know, once a month on Friday, they have, in fact, it's this Friday, they have what they call Giveaway Friday, where there'll be people bring stuff. It's kind of like the recovery market, only it's free. People can come
Oh,
in,
okay.
and they can take clothes or whatever's been donated. Um, and that's once a month that we have that, and so there's just a lot going on, in our community here in the recovery community, um, and with the partnership of our church, which has always been a staple in the community. We do Christmas baskets, Thanksgiving baskets. There's just anything to do with the community. But this recovery cafe is a new thing taken off, and it's really helping people get off the street, get into housing, to at least have one good meal a day, and not have to worry about, you know, having to pay for it. It's free. And so, um, Mercy Coalition gets grants to do all of this. Our, our, our city, uh, we get grants from our city. In fact, we're getting a city grant to um, remodel our little kitchen that's in our Sunday school room, and to upgrade our bathrooms. So we really work with the entire community, including the recovery community. And we've had that for years. Before COVID hit, we turned our sanctuary into a warming center during the winter.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots that
To
we
get
do.
people out of the cold, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
To get people out of the cold and being able to just have a place to just deflate for a minute.
yeah.
So
So
where's this recovery cafe located?
it's on
Here
Drever
in
Street.
Sacramento, obviously.
It's in West Sacramento.
Oh, in West Sac. Okay.
Yeah,
And you can
it's
just look it up online. Let's see, West Sac recovery
it's at
cafe.
920 Drever Street is our address, West Sacramento.
Mosaic West Sac is the website.
Is there a Mosaic
Okay.
Village? Yeah,
It's mosaicwestsac.org recovery cafe.
yeah. There.
And it looks like you guys are doing a Socktoberfest. So if I bring in, half a
That's
dozen or
coming. That's
if
coming
I
up. I think I'm doing something that day. Um, I'm
so I
with
could
the,
bring my old socks, or are we looking at old socks, or what are we looking at here?
uh, I what you're going to be donating socks.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I got to find out where this place is. Let's see, because you and I got the recovery market that we're going to be doing.
I'll see you on Saturday, and I can give you more information.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea because now
And
I'm actually
this it's 920 Drever Street. If you know West Sac, um, it is behind the um, Chevron station on Jefferson Boulevard. That's kind of like the landmark. Um, and so uh, Jefferson
but I could
Boulevard and Drever Street run the same direction.
yeah, what I can do is I could throw a link in the show notes. When I get ready to publish this next week,
Yeah,
and get it posted, I can throw that, and so the audience can actually take a look at that. That's actually really cool. So talk to me. Okay, so now you mentioned Recovery Cafe, and you also and part of that is obviously this Mercy Coalition, which is the Mosaic Village.
yes.
Talk to me about this coalition. How many groups do you have involved in the coalition?
Well, we have a lot. The city, we have different community businesses that are involved in it as we begin to build further out. Um, and we're going to have classes um, to help people find job skills.
Oh,
And
all right.
yeah, we're really building a complete community, um, recovery and because as you know, when you first get in recovery, you don't know where you're going or what you're doing. You don't know if you're going to get hired somewhere or not, or that you even have the skills to do
Yeah.
anything. And so that's what a lot of it is teaching classes and there's just some of the community businesses are a part of that mosaic village, and so we're still building.
Very cool. Looks like the Rotary Club's involved. They're going to be having barbecue on Socktoberfest.
Yes.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Now, is there a cost, or is it donation only? Uh,
Oktoberfest.
yeah, this Oktoberfest, right?
Yeah.
September
I haven't heard.
29th to October 24th. Interesting.
Yeah.
The information's here. All I got to do is just post it on, and then
Yeah.
people can look it up as they're
I
going.
haven't heard
Yeah,
that there's a cost,
right
but we
on.
all
That's
take
very
donations.
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Nice. No, I might. Now, are you looking for just new socks or no holy socks? Right? No,
Well, we might put some
no used socks. They're no good.
and learn to talk the talks. Yeah.
uh, we could always, recycle those holy socks and make sock puppets out of them. Do you
Well,
remember what was?
we've got winter coming up. we've got cold weather coming up, so we,
Yeah,
even the church, we buy like coats and different things, and we give it to the Recovery Cafe to get distribute on the Give
that's
Away
awesome.
Fridays, and so we're always taking donations. The Recovery
So
Cafe.
as part of this Mercy Coalition, Mosaic Village, the Recovery Cafe, how does the tiny homes and all that? You're leasing land. So what do you mean by so you're gonna lease this land from the state, or I mean, how are you getting this land
We've
and
already
how are you getting
leased.
the
We leased the
right?
land to Mercy Coalition, who runs the
Gotcha.
who runs
Okay.
the Recovery Cafe and is building the Mosaic Village, and they have different partners that partner, and we've partnered with them.
Gotcha. Very cool. Nice.
Leased our land to them, and they're going to be, of course, you got to get all the specs and permits and all of that. So it's probably be spring before we break ground.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna take a minute for sure, but I mean, it all seems like really a really good way to help people who are in recovery and getting homeless folks back on their feet. No pun intended with all the sock talk that we've been having.
Yeah,
Um, all right, so here's the creme de la creme. We'll talk about the recovery market in a little bit here coming up this Saturday. However, talk to me about your present because I mean, you kept hinting at it. You were really excited about it. I really wanted to hear about it, but I wanted to save it for the podcast. Talk to me about Vegas and this gambling addiction
well, uh,
conference that you were at.
in 1991, I was one of the first certified gambling counselors in California. And it was the beginning of the movement of, of healing gambling, which is a very difficult addiction, by the way. And so every year they have a conference. So, and I think it's interesting that they always have it in Vegas, you know,
Yeah, right. It's like I want. Let's get
Twin
these gambling
City.
addicts out here.
And so, but it's about helping. It's called, responsible gambling, and we know that with addiction, I don't think there's a responsible anything. It's like
Mm-mm.
you can't responsibly drink, or you can't responsibly do drugs, or
Yeah.
all of that kind of stuff. So, but it's called responsible um, gambling, and there's different workshops and different speakers, and again bringing the native culture and the drum to recovery in gambling, and it's interesting because I have a service dog. Her
Uh
name
huh.
is Lucy,
Uh huh.
and Lucy goes with me everywhere. And so she's at the um, addiction conference with me. And the day before closing, the day of closing, I should say, they're giving out awards and they're giving out certificates of different things in different areas.
Great.
Um, and all of a sudden, they give an award to my dog.
All
I have
right.
a certificate for being the best behaved and the cutest.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. That's very cool.
it is really cool. I'll send you a picture. I'll show it to you Saturday. She'll be with
Yeah,
me.
we're definitely gonna need some photographs because I need to put something together because of our
Yeah,
technical difficulties. So we need to put something at least on the screen for the video part of this
I, I,
uh,
I
at
text
some
you a
point in
picture
time.
of me at the drum, so that might help.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that'll be really good. At least that way people can get it kind of a face. But
And
that totally
I can
works.
send you the picture of Lucy getting her certificate. And
Beautiful. That'd be awesome. I'll set it up as a little collage, maybe, and get you in there. And
and
so that'd be beautiful. I'd love that.
and the 25th, which is this Oktoberfest,
Hmm.
is also our Cherokee gathering, which is also here
Oh,
in Brexat. I'll tell
all
you
right.
more about
So yeah, definitely. Let me see if I can. While you're talking to it, I'll see if I can actually find the event online and see if I can get that link posted in the show
called
notes later
Cherokees of
too.
the West.
Cherokees of the West. There
Uh,
it is, CherokeeoftheWest.com.
yep,
Beautiful.
that's us. So I'm
Beautiful.
also on the council there. I, being part Cherokee myself of Cherokee descent, I work with our
Cool.
community.
I'll definitely put that in the show notes. So what's going on at the Cherokee of the West event? What's going on there? This is the
Well,
drum circle or the
we are meeting from noon to 3, um, and it's free. There'll be all kinds of food to eat, and we'll be making. We always have a craft of some type, training of some kind, a cultural event, and this time we'll be doing gourd mask. We got Halloween,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and so you'll be able to take a gourd and paint your mask and create, and the story behind the gourd mask and what they mean to our culture.
Yeah. That's nice. That's awesome. What let's before we get into that story and how the gourd mask works, let's talk because you mentioned something that was really key. You said that gambling addiction is a little bit different. Can you explain that? Because it's not necessarily a physiological craving like alcohol or drugs. Can you explain a little bit more about the gambling aspect of it? Like, it still hits the dopamine hit, but it hits different, obviously, right?
Yeah,
So, can you describe it a little bit for our listeners and why
yeah,
it's so difficult to kick
it
that
does.
habit?
It does hit the pleasure center, um, and but the big difference with gambling is they can see in their mind they can see a payoff. It's not like you're going to have a hangover. Of course,
Gotcha.
they end up losing all their money, their homes, their relationships, just like all of the other addictions. But with this one, there's that payoff that they feel. Uh, One more time, um, it's, roll the dice. This time I'm going to win.
I'm gonna hit big. You see it in the
Yeah,
movies a lot. Oh, this is
yeah,
the time I'm gonna hit big or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah, okay, I got you.
So,
So
so the,
now, what was your? Go ahead. Yeah, no. Please
the
finish.
thing about gambling is it feeds you hope, where other
Hmm.
addictions remove the hope. You don't see, um, when you're waking up with a hangover, or you've ended up in the hospital because you've OD'd. There's no light at the end of the tunnel for that. But with
Right,
gambling, there's always that I'm going to hit the big one. We see the same thing with some of the lottery these days. That's a form of
right,
gambling. Not all gambling is in Vegas. These games that our kids have grown up with, it's a form of
right,
gambling. It's a psychological addiction, more than,
right.
but it does hit the pleasure center in the brain.
Interesting.
It works off of that as well.
So okay, so like when you were in Vegas actually giving this talk, what was your talk about? I mean, like I don't know if you get paid for this or whatever, and don't expect a check in the mail, but
But
I'm just
I
saying it's like can you
that
speak to that experience a little bit in regards to like the conference in and of itself?
Yes. Well, we did the healing drum. We talk about generational trauma. We talk about how um, our culture is more spiritual, and how you can't you can't live our culture and be in the middle of these addictions. Like if you we have the drum, you can't come to the drum under the influence.
Okay, so so there's a little bit of I don't know if this is the right word, and you can correct me. So like culturally, there's shame that's still attached to being addicted to practicing. Um, I guess, for lack of a better word, self hate or self abuse. So talk to me, like, from a cultural perspective, how that's seen, in the Cherokee Nation. Like,
Well,
expand on that, because the reason why I'm asking this is because in Western society and Western culture, we've removed shame, and so now everybody's kind of running amok and doing whatever it is that feels good, and so this is actually really not, this is really a good point, because what I'm understanding is that there's a level of shame. Like, you can't operate within this culture, like you said. You can't operate with it when you have an addiction. So expand on that a little bit more.
well, it's not about shame. It's about honor. It's about respect. You don't disrespect someone by coming to the drum under the influence. Um, and
So honor is more of a cultural. So how, I mean, if you were king, or if you were the chief of this tribe, how would you, and we're talking about from a Western standpoint, how would you reintroduce honor and respect in this culture, and especially nowadays, because everything's just kind of gone, like you said, upside down
yeah,
and backward, from a cultural perspective. Like, we've got conflicts everywhere. So from a cultural perspective, how would you reintroduce honor and respect, especially in communities like with alcoholism, drug addiction, sex addiction? I wrote a little bit about that in my book. Overeating, right? So how would that help, like, in recovery?
well, for one thing, it's prayer and meditation, um, and that's with all recovery, I'm sure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
in fact, I was just last month at a 11th step retreat,
I
which is
love
prayer
it.
and meditation, and doing the healing drum. It is, we call it medicine of the drum. It speaks to you at a deeper level. And so by saying, now we will take you to Sweat Lodge and let you sweat it out. But if you are having, we don't let negative energy come around our drum or our ceremonies. But if you're having a problem, the medicine person, or an elder, which I'm both of those, uh,
I love it.
will, will work with you on a spiritual level, because it's not about shame, because we don't do, when we say you don't come to the drum, it's out of respect. It's not that we shame you. It's like we're going to help you so that you can come to the drum.
Okay, so let me ask you. I'm just being the devil's advocate because I want to wrap my head
That's
around,
fine.
like the idea or the principles here. So let's just say, I mean, I'm a white guy, well, Italian really, but I mean, I don't have any Native American blood in me whatsoever. So if I came to a drum circle, shit faced, how would that be handled? Um,
One of the
like
elders
like
would
from a,
take, yeah, one of the elders would take you aside and talk to you, and talk to you about uh, the demon of alcohol and how it's affecting you, and what we can do to help you so that you can come back to the drum. That's how it's handled.
Interesting. Okay, so it really falls on the respect, not only for the circle, but also for the individual tribesman or medicine man or medicine woman or elder or whatever to really kind of drive it home in regards to honor and respect and and having that type. So how does I guess I mean obviously we have the 12 steps, right? You and I are at an advantage with ACA, the 12 steps of
But the
AA
Native
and
American 12
Al-Anon.
steps. We have the Native American 12 steps.
Oh, does that differ all that much from Bill
It,
W's
well,
version versus?
we have them um, with permission from World Service. It's the wording is different because some of the 12 step, as we know, were written
Hmm.
by two males, and
Right.
a lot of times the wording, um, you know, we love the word higher power because a lot of people just getting into recovery don't have a concept of God as a good person because God's
Right. Right.
yeah. So
I
so
can I can relate to that, and I understand that. When I first came in, and I went through that whole experience of basically. Anyways, but go ahead, finish, and I'll pick up where I left off.
yeah, so looking at just changing some of the wording, not changing the meaning, that it helps people understand uh, in a different way, in um, in a way. I'm looking up my 12 steps here as we speak. Um,
Sure, not a problem.
uh,
Take your
um,
time.
no,
This is casual. There's nothing formal about my podcast. We're just shooting a shit and seeing what sticks.
yeah, we like I said, the 12 steps, the Native American 12 steps. The wording is so much different. Um, we have it's called White Bison. It's a training program, and when
Whitebison.org, medicine wheel and 12 steps.
yeah,
Native American, Alaskan, beautiful. You gotta
yeah,
love Google. Google is
yeah,
our
oh
friend.
yeah, yeah. Now just like the first step, it says we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and drugs,
Hmm.
and that we lost control of our lives. Little bit different wording,
Right.
and then it says we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves. That we don't use the word God,
Yeah. Okay. Um.
and so when you see that, um, it looks a little bit different. Um, I'm trying to get this to clear up here. I
Nah.
have
Take like again. Take your time. It's not.
yeah,
Um. So I love. Okay. So I'm looking at a brochure here, and
yeah,
what the 12 spiritual principles are listed on the
yes,
brochure. Yeah,
yes.
and those seem to
Those
match
are,
up
yep.
perfectly to the 12 steps. I just for some reason I can't actually find the verbiage of the 12 steps.
I'm
Uh,
looking for them myself.
but
I'm finding them, but the print is so that I can't read it. And
not a problem.
I have the
Not a,
book, but
well, I found the website. So if anybody needs, again, I'll post that in the show notes too. So this is
yeah,
actually really cool. So one of the first times is actually that I was introduced to Native American. Uh, I was in AA, and one of my early quasi sponsor was just kind of a guy that I kind of attached to.
yeah,
I won't blow his anonymity. I won't say his name. However, he introduced me to animal totems, And I said, I asked what are animal totems and whatnot. And so he explained, well, it's not like a totem pole. A totem is kind of like an
Yeah.
animal version of what's going on in your life at the moment. So he
Right.
asked me to look, he asked me, he's like, during a meeting, so if you get an opportunity, just step outside and just quiet your mind as best as possible. And and uh, and he said, just listen and see what talks to you, right? And my totem that night was the dog totem, and I still feel strong attachment to the dog totem, uh, and because I just love my dogs. Um, and if I can find it, I'd like to explain. You probably know it better than I do. Can you explain the dog totem? Let me see if I can actually find it.
Well,
But the dog totem.
the dog is
Go ahead.
basically about loyalty.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what ended up. So when I looked it up, no, there as it as a totem animal, the dog symbolizes loyalty, protection, companionship, and unconditional love. When I first learned that, I wept because that was like something somehow, even in that, it was like that was like I didn't realize that of myself. I didn't have words to put it to, but that was the first time that I discovered that, hey, there is a piece of me that is actually a worthwhile human being, right?
Yep.
Because you get an addiction and falling that low. I mean, you at least in my experience, I mean, it's like that there's something good underneath you, but you keep doing the same shit over and over again, and and
And
and not
expecting.
learning from those
Yeah.
right, exactly. Right, yeah. I just we just use that so much, it's such a cliche, right?
Uh-huh.
uh what the funny thing is even today, 30 years later, right? And I very much have returned to my original higher power, which was Jesus Christ. He and I had an altercation very young. I went to parochial school, and so I grew up thinking, vengeful God, destructive God, not a
Right.
loving God. It took 30 years to come back to Jesus. Now this is my higher power. I'm not forcing religion on anybody,
I
but this is
understand.
whom I believe, right? However, I still love to go out into nature. And again, I'm very much a dog lover. I've got two knuckleheads here that suck me dry as far as money is concerned, because I spoil the crap out of them.
I know that
But
one.
yeah, exactly. But I go out to Lake Natoma, and now I know that these animals exist, but it just depends on what day I'm riding. I may run into a deer. I ran into a coyote. I ran into quail. I run into geese and duck. And so I make a list of the animals that I run into that day. Snake. And sometimes I get the rare honor of seeing the two bald headed eagles that live there. And so on those days, I'll make a list of totems and I'll construct my own totem pole for that day. And I'll look at like what each animal represents and do that and say, hey, that kind of falls in line with what I'm going through. It's just very, very magical and spiritual, even for a guy who has no idea what it is to be a Native American, right? It's just a wonderful way of receiving a gift from my God, from Jesus, right? I mean, it's just opening myself up, and just this God that just created this world, and it's like, and it's all here, and it's all beautiful, and it's all something that we can all strive to live with, right? Instead of trying to live against.
That's true. And the thing about Native Americans is, um, it's about honor and respect. Those are two of the big values among Native American people, and we see we see things as an illness that we want to heal. not something that is um, like a sin. You know, yeah.
Right.
We don't do that sin. Uh, just like that the church that I attend, we are a progressive church, and we teach the teachings of Jesus. We don't preach. Um, and in fact, I did the sermon this last Sunday, and I did it on being thankful and gratitude. And there's a saying that says, you know, if the only prayer you ever say is thank you, that's enough. If you say to the Creator, thank you for one more day, that's enough. It's about giving thanks and respect. That is
That's
so.
also, I mean, that's actually a really good point because also in my book I wrote, I thought I gave you a copy. Did you get an
I
opportunity to
do.
read that?
I've read through some of it. I haven't read all of it yet.
Not well. I mean, it can get boring, but at some points does get pretty exciting, especially with all of the f bombs I drop in that thing.
Uh,
Um,
I've heard more than that. Believe me. I'm
um,
ACA. Remember, I've heard it all.
That's true. That's true. I like the concept that you said. Healing or an ailment versus sin. See,
Yeah,
the way I equated my addictions was in demons, right?
yeah,
Because it's truly it's like it's a malicious, malignant, almost, I mean, for lack of a better word, cancer that's living
yeah,
inside of you. And so that, I mean, I think that um in regards to spirituality and the way people operate, I think regardless if it's Christianity or Buddhism, they all fall in line in regards to getting to the same endpoint. I mean, it, like I said, it took me 30 years to get back to Jesus, and there was a whole reasoning behind that. I might include it in the second revision, but I'm not going to get into it. And I'm not a Bible thumper in any way, shape, but it's very interesting reading the Bible at 20 years old and somebody telling you how you should worship versus developing a relationship with Jesus or your higher power
but
and making that conscious contact, like you said, through the 11th step, right? So I mean, there's a lot to be said in regard, like the knuckleheads in AA will always say that basically that big book is a Bible for dummies,
yeah.
and I honestly believe that. I honestly believe that because a lot of what is said
Have you read
in
the
the
ACA Big Book? It's
I
red.
have the red book. I got it. I got the red book. It's
Oh
floating
yeah.
around here somewhere.
I was in on the ground. I was in on the ground floor of that.
Oh,
Uh,
really? So wait. Who was the original? What was his name? Victor. What was one of the original founders? God, what was his name? It was like back in 1970 something, right?
oh yeah, it was in the 70s. Yeah,
Yeah, it was in the yeah, it was 70 something. Right,
yeah,
exactly. And I can't remember the founder's name cuz he kind of detached. Yeah.
yeah. Um, I've got these 12 steps for you. I want you to just hear the
Good.
slight difference. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
Step one says we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that we had lost control of our lives. No word sanity. Two, we
Right.
came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could help us regain control. Three, we made a decision to ask for help from a higher power and others who understand. We stopped and
Yeah,
thought
that's a
about our
significant
strengths,
difference. Yeah.
yeah, our strengths and our weaknesses, and we thought about ourselves. We admitted to the Great Spirit, to ourselves, and to another person the things we thought were wrong about ourselves, not what others think.
Mhm.
Then, six, we are ready with the help of the Great Spirit to change. 7. We humbly ask a higher power and our friends to help us change. We made a list of people who were hurt by our drinking and want to make up for these hurts. We are making up to those people whenever we can, except when to do so would harm
So
them.
would injure them or others. Yeah.
10. We continue to think about our strengths and our weaknesses, and when we are wrong, we will say so. 11. We pray and think about ourselves, praying only for the strength to do what is right. And 12. We try to help other alcoholics and to practice these principles in everything we
And
do.
all,
And do you
yeah,
know
and all
the
our affairs.
interesting
Yeah.
thing is? Most people in recovery do not know what the principles are. It's not in the big book.
The Yeah, it's not. No, they with the principles behind the 12
And
steps.
most
Yeah,
of
the
the
spiritual.
time,
Yeah.
when people get a sponsor, the sponsor takes them through the steps, but never once do they talk about how that principle goes with that step. Now, there's a book that the Native Americans have. It's called the Wellbriety. And for each step, you work the principle at the same time. Do you know what the
Interesting.
Do you know what the first step? Do you know what the principles of the first step is?
Well, I just brought up the I have them noted because my sponsor and I did actually go through them when I was in AA, so I have actually noted. But let me see
I know
what the at the top of my head it's like it's honesty if I remember correctly.
it. It is all.
And then yeah, and then you have the one that I really attach to the most is the step 4. This is where I think people develop courage, right? And
But I also
so
want you to think about step 4. Here it says we stopped and thought about our strengths and our weaknesses, and we thought about ourselves. This doesn't say anything negative. All the negativity is taken out of these 12 steps for the Native Americans. With the 12,
hmm.
with step 4,
So you're not okay, so that makes sense. So you guys more focus on more of the positive energy
yes,
versus the negative energy.
yeah, that we don't do
Right.
positive, we don't do negative. And so you look at the positive aspects of these 12 steps. And one of the things with step 4 is, you know, when we think about ourselves, it's not about dragging all our past into it and reliving it. It's about moving away from it. It's about how did that affect us and how do we change. So
Okay, well, I mean,
steps can be used for anybody. You
well,
don't have
no, that makes sense. I see where you're going with that. However, I think because like the 12 steps, like and especially in AA, I mean, there's some alcoholics who are just terminal, right? So
oh yeah, I've
they're
worked with
gonna
them.
need yeah, so they're gonna need a person who's well versed in the 12 steps, and they're probably gonna have some person who's medically um competent to help them detox for the first 72 to 96 hours, right?
Yeah.
And as they're doing that, they're probably going to be working the steps. So it's kind of an emergency
We
at
put you
that
in the
point.
red lodge.
Right. Okay. So same concept. It's like it's kind of an emergency. We need to throw you in a sweat lodge. We need to get you sober, and then we're going to be talking about. We're going to be praying. We're going to be talking about the 12 steps. We're going to understand the exact nature of our wrongs, right? And so, and that. But over the years, as you're, for me, and I can only speak to my own experiences. So over the years, not only having initially becoming physically healthy through AA. And then, a few years later, going to ACA and becoming psychologically healthy. Now I'm an Al-Anon, and I'm developed a closer relationship with my higher power. And each time as I'm going through the fourth step, right, I'm developing the courage. And so much so that even now, like going through having gone through my fourth step through Al Anon, I wrote about this in my book. I had to focus on some positive attributes, right? I had to really sit there and look at, like, hey, I'm not just this piece of shit who's just a loser, like I compared myself to a racehorse tripping outside the starting gate, just could never never get going. You know, I had to actually go back and reflect over the 30 years that, hey, you know what? You got sober, right? Hey, you know what? You worked on your anger issues. Hey, you know what? It's like you've been able to maintain and put a roof over your head and be a responsible uh, 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 person who contributes to society in a healthy way. It was like all of these things and all of these ideas that were negative. Yeah, sure. These were well, in my terms, these were the sins that I had done. However, over the 30 years, I've learned to change those things and turn those things into positive attributes, right? So I think more so from what I'm understanding, based on what you're saying, you right out of the gate, you guys are focusing on, like, no, you're not a piece of shit. It's like, this is what you're bringing to the table. We just got to clean out these clean out the gutter, so to speak.
Yep.
And get that spiritual flow going through you, like water through a stream. I
Well,
mean, go ahead, please.
when you look at the traditional 12 steps of AA, step 4 says you take a fearless and moral inventory.
Correct.
Most people read that wrong. It says moral, not immoral.
Yeah, so you do have to balance the good and the bad, right?
Well, thing
That's
is,
for sure.
if you're taking a moral inventory, what you're doing is you're seeing how alcohol, drug, whatever your addiction is, has compromised your morals.
Right.
So that's the way we look at it.
Well, but at the same time, too, on page 64 of the big book, I always lose this. I always try to, but on page 64 of the big book, it also talks about a spiritual malady, right? It doesn't say
Oh,
you have to go to
absolutely.
Jesus. It doesn't say you have to go to Buddha. It doesn't have to. It just
Mm-mm.
says that there's a spiritual malady that's taken root. And again, from a moral perspective, it's like you have to get your spiritual house in order to eliminate that addiction, that disease, right? That demon.
Yep.
So it's like, it's definitely focused around spirituality. How the individual, whatever path they take is unique as they are,
Yep.
right? No, and it doesn't have. It's not written in stone. I went through this with another conversation a couple of weeks ago on my other podcast, and we came to the same conclusion. She was a doctor who dealt with post traumatic stress disorder and trauma, and that was one of the first things that she. I mean, it took a while to get there. The conversation was almost 2 hours long, but as we were going through that, I mean, it's just like it was the same thing for her. She had to get to a spiritual place where that she could deal with, like, her trauma, right? It's like,
Right.
because sometimes we don't invite demons in. That was my fault. I invited a lot of my demons. However, sometimes demons are cast onto you by others, and sometimes as a child you don't have that choice, and so she had to come um, to her spirituality in order for her to get healthy and to get out of that sick and twisted thinking that had possessed her in her youth. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's like
Oh,
when you hit the fourth step and you start taking this immoral inventory, because that's what you start doing. You don't look at the
right.
moral part. you get overwhelmed, and that's where people relapse. They relapse on that fourth step because they get so overwhelmed by doing an immoral inventory instead of a moral one.
Well, and you bring up a great point, because it's like, if you're looking in the mirror and you don't, I mean, for me, example, like,
Yeah,
30 years ago, I was looking in the mirror and I didn't really like looking at that guy.
right.
However, I had a really good, um he liked to I had a really good sponsor. He liked to really twist things up on me. So, and I'll give you an example. And I think I spoke to this on my last podcast as well. But, he had asked me to describe my higher power, right? And so essentially, he's dominating. He hates me. He's telling me I'm going to go to hell in a handbasket. He thinks I'm worthless. Blah blah blah. And so I had a lot of contention of what the church told me,
Yep.
or how I should, view my higher power. Vengeful. He hated me and all this other stuff. And anyway, so what my sponsor did, because we had had a few conversations, the three of them at least,
Yeah.
before the fourth one. And he had said, "Well, sounds like you're describing your dad. Why don't you take all of those things that you defined as your higher power and flip those words? So instead of hate, use the word love, right?" And then, so he helped me and guided me into thinking differently. The same is true in my fourth step, right? When I'm talking to my sponsees and I'm telling them, I'm like, yeah, we're going to list all your bad stuff. But at the same time, though, we're going to flip that on its ear, and we're going to look at the opposites and see how much of those coincide with each other. Right. I think that's what's important, especially when it's sponsor to sponsee, that you don't sit and focus on all the negative shit, because we're not 100% bad.
No, and
You
and
know,
that's what they see with that fourth step. If they don't have a good sponsor, because a lot of times people rush into becoming sponsors and they're not healed yet, and
right.
so
It takes a while. You got to
yeah,
go through all the. I mean, you have to go through all the 12 steps, and if you want to take I mean, this is just a
and you
suggestion
can't
and a
do it in
recommendation.
you
You
can't
can't do it in a week. It
uh,
takes. It took
yeah,
me 6 months to get through the 12 steps each time, and then you got to go through the traditions, because the traditions actually teach you a little bit about autonomy, right? It's like, what wait, what is my business and what is not your business?
the
you know
other
so
yeah, the other thing is when you look at the 12 steps, and when you look at that fourth step, and we have a well-variety book, which is um, like your guys' AA big book. We have a book, and we do what's called mind mapping. And so,
I've heard about mind mapping.
you do what's your mind look like in your addiction, and what's your mind look like without your addiction, and how do you
um,
get from one to the other.
I'm trying to figure out. There's a school, mind mapping. There's actually a website, um, called
Well
mindmapping.com.
variety. Look up well variety.
Right. Well, variety.
They don't call it sobriety, they call it well variety.
Wellvarietymovement.com.
Yep.
Cool. Uh, okay, I see it. Oh, and it's got a Native American logo on there. Very
Oh wow,
cool.
yeah.
Oh,
Don's
and it's got a link to the white bison, shows you
yep.
meditation so that
Oh,
you can
I got
become.
all. Don's a friend of mine that wrote that. He started in the '90s too. We did some work
we're,
together.
we're dating ourselves here.
I already told you.
Yeah. Well, I'm 53, so I mean, and I don't feel bad for saying it. I think I'm still stuck on 30, though. I still think I'm 30, and sometimes I'm 13.
Aren't we all?
uh, well, I want to, Dr. Shirley Rowland, my dear, I want to be conscious of your time. I know that these conversations can get long. So, aside from the links that you provided, is there any closing statements or how people can get a hold of you, maybe, or contact information or a website or something like that, that you want to promote?
my website's down, so I don't have that. But my phone number, my email,
Uh huh.
feel free to share that. I'm open to working with people with the cultural stuff and doing healing. Like I said, I'm headed to Stockton Friday, and Saturday is our next Saturday
And
is
that phone number, that's your business phone number, right? So if I, instead of just verbalizing it to the world, I can post it in the show notes.
yeah.
And that's okay for
My
you.
phone number, my cell phone is the one I use for business. I have
Beautiful. All right.
my
Cool.
yeah,
And
but
I can
that
include that on the show notes, and then the email address you actually have a business email address. I can't believe I'm missing. I think I put your business card in a book that I was reading.
I've got new ones. I'll give you Saturday.
All right, and then when I'm ready to publish the podcast, I'll get it up there.
Yeah,
So, hey, I want to thank you so much. What did you think?
I
Did you
think
have a
it's
good
awesome.
time?
I think it's a wonderful way to reach people, um, and I still I haven't sponsored anybody in a long time because I'm so busy. But I'm
Yeah.
willing to talk and help and work with people um, that reach out to me. So I don't turn people away. It's just that I don't take full time sponsorship anymore.
No, I can appreciate that. No, that's I mean based on what you described earlier today, I think it was yeah, you got your plate full, especially if you're doing these talks and stuff like that. I'm sure. And then again, I'll see you at the recovery market this weekend,
Yeah.
and then I'll get a hold of you and tell you how you could actually download this very podcast.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I work with the Native American Training Institute, which is out of
okay.
Albuquerque, Mexico. I've been with them for over 25 years. I go to Albuquerque every year and teach at the Indian school there, the Training Institute. I do the
Oh,
healing
beautiful.
room, I do sound healing, I teach ethics, I teach whatever they need. But
That's beautiful.
yeah, I've been with them a
Native
long
American.
yeah,
And I got natty-nm.org.
yeah.
Uh, or is it nativeinstitute.org?
Well,
It's two
it's
of them.
NATI.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's the
got
Training Institute. You might want to
nat
go
and
there here.
that's natty nm. I'm assuming that's that is 222.
If you put Native American Training Institute,
Yeah.
NATI will come up the little logo.
It's yeah, Native American Training Institute, Natty. I'm assuming New Mexico because I'm looking for making sure I got the right one because you had mentioned New Mexico.
Yeah,
So I want to make sure. Yep, Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's the site.
yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Lovely.
I'm on the board there too. I'm on so many boards.
Awesome.
Real.
Well, you got to stay busy. Apparently, retirement, there's no such thing as retirement. And
No,
that's probably what keeps you young.
you just retirement means you don't have a boss.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true, right?
Then
That is awesome.
you can do what you love.
Oh, this is great. This is great stuff. And I'm hoping that at some point in time, maybe this podcasting thing will be able to get me into retirement too. Maybe I'll be the next Joe Rogan of recovery. Who knows?
Knows. Yeah, yeah.
Just all I could do is pray and wish me luck.
How much work have you done with ACA?
I was in ACA for the better part of about 5 or 6 years, and then I in and out of these 12-step programs in recovery for like I said, over the 30 years. But that also included some life coaches, psychiatrists, psychologists,
Yeah.
um, and just kind of really working. And then I've got 3 years now with Al-Anon. I was in Al-Anon at about the time I got into ACA about 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. And then again, in and out, and then back into Al-Anon. And so I got 3 years. I just celebrated 3 years in September, and I hit the circuit pretty hard. I still do anywhere between 3 and 4 meetings a week.
I
So,
didn't do well with Al-Anon at all, but I did Coda.
oh yeah,
I don't do
that's a
well with
funny.
Al-Anon. That what got me, and we're talking years ago now. What got me was those people would sit there, and nothing changed. They didn't do anything but complain. And
It's still the same. It's not that much different.
they're really not working any steps. They're just complaining. It's a place to come and complain. And I'm a doer. I don't sit and wallow. And so maybe that's part of my culture. I don't know. But I found Coda much more about relationships, much more beneficial than like I said. I had to go to all these meetings so I could experience the different ones. But Al-Anon, and I know Al-Anon's good for people, and I know some people really do well with it. But it's just like AA. It's not for everybody.
Well, but that's why there's so many. I mean, there's Overeaters Anonymous, there's Sex Anonymous, there's Naranon, there's Narcotics Anonymous, there's Al Anon. There's all of these programs. And that's why they suggest, hey, you at least got to go to 6 meetings,
Yeah,
before making a decision, right? Like Al Anon didn't work for me as much like 13 years ago as ACA did. Does that make sense? So it's like one of those things uh, where it was like um, I'm I'm thinking and typing at the same time. That's usually gets
okay.
me in trouble. That usually gets me in trouble. Um, but it does. But for some reason, Al-Anon hit really hard for me this time around, and
And
so I was
and like I said,
and
it really helped some people. It was
but
just not
just
speaking to me where ACA did. And
But you bring up a great point, though. The thing is, I mean, it may not have hit you, but the thing is like what you said, you were a doer. So
yeah,
here's the thing. It's like you get out of whatever you're into, what you
yeah,
put into it.
yes,
So, and the same is true for college. The same is true for work. It's like, and if for whatever reason this particular job or 12-step program or school isn't like fitting you, it's like it doesn't mean that you have to change, but it does mean that you need to change your vibe. Like there was a quote, and I've said it in other podcasts. It's like, if the people that surround you aren't feeling your vibe, don't change your vibe, change the people, right? The same is true for anything else. It's like if a school ain't vibing with you or a job ain't it's like get yourself another job, you know, don't give up your current job because, you're losing income, but, find another job that actually suits you. Find another school, find another program, right? It's like we have so many choices and so many
oh,
options.
absolutely. I like I said, got years behind me here. I went to adults molested at children program, um, and
That's a heavy topic for me. But go
it
ahead.
was
I'm
for me,
sorry.
and it was one of the hardest ones for me to do. And I couldn't do a lot of the meetings. I had to work with the sponsor more than anything because some of those people were just too sick.
Yeah.
I mean, they needed to be somewhere besides a meeting.
Right.
They need more intensive help, And I think my age, my culture, all of that, I have a different perspective on things. So, yeah, you can't, we can't judge what I felt or what you felt and project that onto somebody else. Um, and so, there's so much uh, to recovery.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And
not
you can't.
It's not just
It's a
the
third.
alcohol and drugs. That's covering up something.
It's been a third. You know, it's a symptom. Oh, without a doubt, it's totally a symptom. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
You know,
Um, the yeah, it's just like it's not the drinking, it's my thinking. I mean, there's so many slogans that you can apply when it comes to when it
you
comes to
familiar with
recovery.
the three-headed dragon?
I didn't hear that last part. What was that?
And are you familiar with the three-headed dragon?
I've heard of the three-headed dragon, but I'm not quite sure how it's used in the context of recovery.
Oh, it's a big one. Um, you have the dragon has three heads:
Uh huh.
thinking, thinking, addiction, and emotion. And
Ooh, I
you
like
got to
that.
cut off all three heads. You got to get rid of the distorted thinking. You got to deal with the emotions and overcome the addiction. So if you're just cutting off the addiction, the alcohol, the drugs, you've still got all this
To deal
other
with the
stuff.
emotions and the thinking. Yeah, that makes sense. I see where you're going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a really good analogy. I'm going to bring that up to my sponsee.
I you know, we had a whole program around the three-headed dragon and how that, how you have to work with all of that. And you just have to cut off all three heads to kill that dragon.
Yeah, but it takes for me. It's a 30-year journey, and I'm still. I mean, even today, after 30 years of going through all of this stuff, right? Because the trauma, all the bad thinking, so ingrained in my DNA. People, places, and things still irritate the piss out of me. However, I have tools that are in place that can talk me off the ledge and essentially get me to a point. And and this isn't just Al-Anon tools. This is AA tools and ACA tools and the tools that I've learned through counseling and coaching and all of that, and it's like, but the one of the biggest tools that they all teach is the ability to not do anything. So if something comes across, that's got you angered, right? If you're in an angry situation with a loved one, and the first thing that's coming to your mind is to go and use, or drink or something to that effect, and blow your sobriety, the acronym pause comes to mind. you know, uh, Postpone action until serenity emerges. And, and that may take, 24 hours, 72 hours, but get to a meeting, talk to your sponsor, out of that situation that's pissing you off and irritating you. So, and a lot of that really comes with just, working the program and working the 12 steps and learning about what your triggers are. I think that's yeah. So for sure, I think you're on point there. I think everything, and again, not one recovery program is worse than the other. I
No,
think it's more so finding the recovery program that works for you.
I say ACH saved my life.
Yeah, I
And
believe it.
my
I
and my
I
last marriage,
believe it.
you know.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
all right, Dr. Rowland, I think we're going to cut it here. We're at about an hour and 30 minutes.
That
I
sounds good
really
to me.
appreciate you.
Yep.
Thank you so very much. I love you, and I will get a
I'll
hold of
see you
you
Saturday.
and send y'all. Yeah, I'll see you Saturday, and I'll get a hold of you in regards to how to get this podcast downloaded for you. And yeah, no, I look forward to you talking to you on Saturday. I love you. You be good. All right.
All right. Have a great evening. Bye bye.
You too. Bye bye. Thank you for staying till the end. Please like, subscribe, and share. Only together can we heal ourselves through fellowship and love. Love you, mean it. Vince at Simpin Ain't Easy. Till next time.